Hi everyone, I thought I'd do a nice light-hearted video about how men pick with their dicks, because I've been thinking about this recently and I've kind of drawn on this in the past as well, but I still kind of think that chasing men is pointless because men ultimately pick with their dick and they pick looks over character. And this got me thinking because there are thousands of women out there that are nice and normal and kind and want a boyfriend, and they would love a boyfriend and they would love to settle down. But they're in the same situation like me where they can't seem to find anyone. And it's because men aren't valuing the traditional characteristics such as kindness and humour and being nice to be around. Because sadly, men only view looks and outward appearances and the status of another woman over their heart and their character. And I've definitely found this with me dating, whereas previously I couldn't get past the first round. The first round in Tinder, ultimately the looks round, which I couldn't get past because men were going on certain criteria, i.e. age, looks and status. And it's become increasingly difficult for women to find love because obviously before you didn't have so many options. You were looking around the people in your town and there weren't so many options for men. So people tended to pair up. But these days you're not just competing against people in your town, you're competing against people in the wider network of other countries, possibly further afield in your town. And it's become increasingly difficult for women to find people because men only seem to go for looks. And that is what men seem to put over anything else, over character, over intelligence, over being a good person. And we have this joke amongst my friendship group that men say they want a natural woman, which is absolute bullshit because men say they want a natural woman that looks pretty without makeup. And the girls that don't buy into the fake nails, the fake hair and the fake eyelashes are the ones that are left on the shelf because men go for that because they think that, oh, that woman is attractive, she's not doing a lot, when they don't realise that her hair is fake, they don't realise that her nails are fake, they don't realise that she's got a ton of makeup on because she's done it in a subtle way. And the goalposts have almost been moved for women as to what is conventionally acceptable. And even now, I've talked before, it's like now we have the added pressure of having perfect white teeth because the goalposts have just sadly been moved and men are picking thinness and beauty above all other characteristics. And these type of men wonder why they're getting hurt. They wonder why they're getting hurt is because they are choosing superficial women with zero character, with zero intelligence, without a brain, that look good. And they are simply, to put it crudely, they are thinking with their dick. And this is what annoys women so much because women generally have to try harder, I think, to get a man. And I know the beta haters will hate me, but if you're a man, you have a job and you have some kind of ambition, you will find a woman. And that's not going to sit well with a lot of my subscribers. But for women, I don't think men realise this constant pressure that women feel to feel attractive, especially single women that are looking for someone to date. I don't think they realise how difficult it is for women. There's so much pressure on women to be pretty and thin at all times. And it's as if you don't fit into that demographic, you're screwed. And I'm not even adding on the whole colorism debate. And I don't really talk about that because it doesn't affect me, so why would I preach about it? But I accept that there's another layer on society that it is harder for black women to date because people tend to date within their ethnic groups. So there is so much going on for women that I don't think men necessarily appreciate or understand. Whereas I think women do generally, on the whole, pick for character and they pick for the goodness inside a man. I watched Obsession on Netflix a while ago, and it highlights this point that this man, I know it's a drama, but he was a top London surgeon. He had everything going for him. He was respected in his job. He had a wife. He had a family. His life from the outside was perfect. And it is a really good drama, actually. It's a bit weird, but it's a good drama. And it shows the unraveling of this man over this obsession with one woman, where he throws away his whole life and his whole livelihood for some kinky sex with this woman, basically. That's what it all comes down to. And he threw away everything that he had with his wife for this one woman, because who knows, he wasn't getting a certain element from his wife. And he thought, I will throw that all away for this small part. Whereas I don't think you would get the same with a woman. You wouldn't get a woman throwing away her whole livelihood just for some sex. Because on the whole, women don't work like that. On the whole, women know that we have to pick right. And we know that we can't mess it up, because if we have children, we're put in a vulnerable position where we need to have picked the right man, because we feel if we don't pick the right man, then we get all this pressure from society that we can't possibly leave, because then we'll be the single mum. And most of you have probably seen on the internet what the vitriol that is directed at single mums, which is just disgusting. But we know that if we pick incorrectly, it's the shame's put on us. It will be the women left looking after the children. There's still that tiny bit in the back of your head that even with the advances of contraception and the advances of medical technology, there's still that idea in the back of your head that if you do sleep with someone, you can potentially become pregnant. So this is why women on the whole are wiser. And I think especially as you get older, you feel like you have more to lose. If you've built up a career, if you're following your dreams, you have more to lose picking the wrong man, becoming pregnant and derailing your life. So that's why on the whole, women don't pick the wrong men. Is because we still have the burden of carrying the child, looking after the child, and the majority of the responsibility of the children usually falls onto the women. It's not even the argument about hypergamy, because I think that is kind of done to death a bit on the internet. For the majority of women, it's just about finding someone that can support you. That's all it is, finding someone to support you, finding someone that you like. And for the majority of women, they don't need to rush into this, because a lot of women have their shit together and they have their lives sorted, and they don't need to rush into a partnership like women would have done 40, 50 years ago for financial stability. The women that seem to struggle with finding someone have most bases covered. They have a good job, they live on their own, they can support themselves. They just want to find someone else. And in the process, they don't want to find someone that will bring them down financially. Women don't want to be the mother to somebody, basically. They don't want to be the person that after looking after themselves, they don't want to then just look after someone with no ambition, with no job, that's got nothing going on, because that in essence is a child. And that dynamic is not attractive to women. Looking after a man as if he's a child, pretty much breastfeeding him. Women aren't looking for the six-figure top dollar men. The majority of women are realistic and they know what their attractive level is and they know the type of man they can get, and they just want someone that's going to help contribute towards the bills. So this is why women pick with their mind more than anything else. And we know that honeymoon period is going to wane, and you're not going to keep that spark constantly. It's going to die down. I don't believe these people that say, oh, I've been married for 20 years and we're still having sex 6 times a week. I don't believe those people. Those people either have no jobs, they don't have to do any chores or anything. I don't believe those people. You could take the nuanced approach and say, well, if you don't want to be judged for picking men that have money, why should men be judged for wanting looks and their preferences? And I'm not saying that's a problem that men pick looks. What I'm saying is we need to understand that as women, and that's part of the reason why we don't chase. And I feel like I'm just banging a steel drum constantly with this. But this is the main reason why women shouldn't approach men, is because men ultimately do go on looks first. And I have finished the Bridgerton book that I was reading, and it's Penelope and Colin's story, which is coming on Netflix soon, I think. I'm not sure when. The dynamic was that these two were friends for 10 years. And eventually Colin woke up one day and he fancied Penelope, and he couldn't put a finger on why. But sadly, this is a fairy tale. This doesn't happen in real life. Men don't wake up after 10 years and think, oh yeah, I actually like this person now. If I think of the people that have progressed from friends to a relationship, and this is obviously purely anecdotal, it's not studies based, but those people always had some kind of attraction. They always had some kind of attraction from the start. They were often had a friends with benefits dynamic, or they slept with them in like a casual capacity. And then they realised, oh, this is something more. It's never the other way, where there's no attraction from the male straight away, and then he's just decided to fancy this woman. That simply doesn't happen. And as long as we acknowledge that, that's fine. My channel is all about women almost living their life and love coming towards them, and them not having to put so much pressure on going out and finding a man. Because I've honestly found in life, the more I try, the more energetically it puts a barrier up, and it almost stops me finding love because I want it so much. So it's all about creating a life where you can sit back and be like, yeah, okay, I'm single, but I'm not completely happy, but I'm all right. And I'm dealing with it, and I have hobbies, and I have interests, and I'm okay. I don't need to whore myself up on Bumble, keep matching with people and keep messaging, because I'm feminine, and I know deep down that it has to come from the man. The man has to initiate and chase. And I know that deep down, because even if you do go out there and approach men and the men do find you attractive, you'll get caught in this loop where men will use you for sex, because men will just have sex with you and they won't reveal their intentions. And if you pursue that kind of line with a man, if you're an attractive woman, they're not going to turn that down. Because we have to remember that for men, there is generally a scarcity of sex for men. So if you're a woman offering yourself up to a man, he won't say no. It's not a compliment, because in general, men find it harder to get sex than women. And the men that do find it easier, it's generally just because of their social status. This is why I feel sorry for men, because there seems to be this whole belief that for men, it's about making money, getting a certain type of social status, and then they can just have the pick of women that they want, and they can have lots of sex, and then they're quote unquote a man because they have more options and they're able to buy women. But that is not the majority of men, and the majority of men need to stop comparing their own experience with that, because that is literally top 1% of men. Men need to stop comparing to that and to stop wishing that they had women like that. And that's what I ultimately acknowledged, is that while women pick for character in the long term, men aren't. Men are going for looks in the short term and ultimately the long term. So women can't win either way. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my mass overgeneralisation of society.